Well, how about automation? I mean, I've seen robots appear in hotel lobbies. I've seen robot delivery systems for guest rooms, not quite room service, but they're getting there. So where do you want to draw the line to retain the human element, and while at the same time, because they're curiosity, so where do you draw that line, I suppose?
I think robots. Okay, so I've deployed robots. So let's first. Hi, I'm Jeff, and I've deployed robots.
Welcome, Jeff.
I think it goes back to setting guest expectations. So the first hotel we deployed a robot in, the big press, the news anchors came and ordered a toothbrush or whatever it was. So it was great for that cycle. We had a lot of sizzle on it. We found a great deal of the time that people were ordering stuff to have the robot deliver it, and if the robot was busy, they didn't want that item anymore. So people started wanting the robot, not necessarily the item. So you have to make sure, as you're measuring stuff, that you know that automation is delivering a service that really exists. Also, that same robot, we asked for towels. The robot runs the towels up to the room and knocks on the door or whatever, rings the phone. The guest comes out and puts all the wet towels in the robot. Well, robots and wet towels don't work well together, as you guys could guess. So that was a nightmare in itself. And they're on the floor. I won't name the name, but it's a funny story, and it works. What we found with the robot, talking to the staff now that it's been in over a year, and we're deploying more and more of them, is where you've got low staffing. So night audit is a great example. A night auditor, if they need to run a towel or run a toothbrush or whatever, they're leaving the front desk. That could be a security issue, B, a service issue, right? Because there's nobody to check somebody in because the clerk is up at the desk. There's a lot of things around that. So if you've got a robot that can go, let that front desk clerk stay at the front desk, be secure, be there for guest service, and the robot's running, doing things. That's a real value. That's a real service delivery, and that replaces some of the human contact piece. But I really see where robots are going to be big in hospitality is the repetitive task stuff. So laundry is going to be a great place that I think robotics will take off in the industry. For example, I think that some level of not necessarily room service, but grab and go. And we're certainly looking at doing, we're going to review the top 5 or 6 items our guest asks for. And in the morning, we might use that robot to deliver coffee. But in the evening, we might stack a tray like a Bartec tray or whatever, where the robot will have 6 toothbrushes and 6 tubes of toothpaste and 6 soaps, and whatever the items are for that hotel, fit in the tray. The tray is only there for inventory. It'll go up to the room automatically. You don't have to have interaction to put a toothbrush in the robot because he's already got toothbrushes. Runs up to the room, comes back, and then as soon as he runs out of toothbrushes, your service delivery system knows to reload the toothbrushes because now it's automating the number of toothbrushes. So I think there's some places there where it will enhance guest service, but just be clear what your model is for that guest service enhancement. Because if all they want is the robot to show up, then the robot can deliver anything.
Do they have appeal for every type of property, or is it very selective?
You need to have, for a robot to work, especially a delivery robot, you need to have elevators that are up to date that can talk to the robot, so the robot can press buttons. You need to have a telephone system that can talk to the robot, because the robot can't knock on the door. There's some technology needs. You need to have flat floors. I mean, it sounds crazy, but some historic buildings, when I was with Interstate, the Roosevelt's a great example. They added a modification, and it's a half a step above the other floor. Robots don't do steps well yet. It's a problem. So, you have, so I think whether it's a select service or a full service hotel or even a luxury hotel, there's an opportunity for a robot to do some tasks that are guest facing. Absolutely. But you just have to be aware that, a robot at the Ritz-Carlton in Laguna Beach might not be such a good idea because there's so many levels and so many stairs. It might not be efficient for it to do what it needs to do. So I think you have to look at your building, you have to look at your technology. It's not as easy as just going and buying a robot at Best Buy, plugging it in, and telling it to deliver toothbrushes. There's a lot of stuff on the back end infrastructure that has to take care of.
So how long until do you think we'll see robot technicians on property?
I'd say give it time. I couldn't agree more with you, Jeff. As far as repetitive tasks, we've been automating for 300 years, well, more than that, but it makes sense. For example, there was a startup at Cornell. It's basically a Roomba for a hotel room, and that makes sense there. That way, the room attendant can be working on other things while the floor gets cleaned with a robot there. There's a great opportunity. One of our alumni started Yotel down in New York City, basically, more or less a filing cabinet of a hotel, if you will. The differentiator there is they have a big old baggage robot, so they're able to automate out the luggage function, if you will. That's a differentiator. The guests really love watching this big robot arm work, and it works for the space so that they can run, what, $50, $100 under New York City ADR, which is absolutely wonderful for a certain set of travelers. Again, there's the novelty of the robot itself, and then there's the automation of repetitive tasks, and that's two different things, I suppose. The one place in Tyson's Corners, the concierge bot, it was tremendously interesting. It took 8 times as long to do what a human does, probably half as well. But it's novel. People like it. It's great. I suppose as long as it makes sense, that's wonderful. But at the end of the day, I'm going to make a call for a towel, not spend 20 minutes plunking away at my TV. If a robot can do that, great. But we have to try to work around, the fallibility of humanity and putting wet towels on robots. That I think a lot more maturity is going to come as far as actual service delivery.
You briefly mentioned chatbots. So what is the appeal, besides manpower, of a guest speaking to a chatbot versus speaking directly to an associate at a hotel?
I think the appeal there is one on the hotel's end, it's more automation and just more efficiency. So it gives them less work to have to go in there and actually respond to the guest in that sense. From the hotels or from the guest's end, it's more it's quicker delivery because you're not waiting for someone to get back to you. But I think still with mention of the robots, it's just not quite there yet in terms of the value you provide to the guest and the efficiency that's or the value of the efficiency that's given to the hotel. So it's still in its earliest phases where it's very novel. A lot of people like using it or like saying that, hey, we have AI or chatbots or robots in the hotel. But we are paving the way, to get into this in the near future. It'll be something where AI or chatbots they'll take probably the initial beginnings of the conversation, and then if human intervention is required. Human come in and reply to the guests and continue that conversation. And then over time, machine learning can take over and actually reply like a human and give the guests that human interaction and feel over time. So that's kind of where we see things going. And in terms of the robotics conversation, that was actually a lot of points that I learned from Dave Burkus's keynote yesterday, a lot of interesting components where he said a lot of repetitive tasks will actually be completely replaced by robotics, where about 25% of these unpredictable tasks can in the future be replaced by robotics. And we'll see an influx of new jobs like an RT department. So a lot of cool things to come, I think, for both sides.
I'm just looking, just as a consumer, I'm thinking about, years ago, the hot thing was to have an auto attendant on a phone system, right? You call in and press 1, and no one wants to press 1 now. They want to call in and talk to somebody. So we're talking about this cool automation to today and robots, but I think when a person stays in a hotel, they want to go talk to somebody and ask them where the cool barbecue place is and hear kind of the story around how the barbecue tastes and where it's at, and then instead of asking a chatbot, where's the barbecue place, just take a left at blah blah and you're done. You lose that appeal. I think people want that experience, and that's just speaking from a consumer perspective. I think probably now they want a cool toy, but after they use it for a little bit, it's going to be like the auto attendant where you actually just want to talk to somebody instead of strangling the phone system. So I think that maybe is where it's going.
To Jake's point, we've actually had a number of guests that have texted us and we've responded, and then they'll reply back trying to see if we are a bot or not. And then it's funny to see how our front desk or our general managers interact with the guests. But it does, to your point, it's that human-to-human connectivity, although it's through technology. They're getting that, hey, here's the barbecue, here's what you want to order, here's the side that you want to order, and make sure to ask for this that's not on the menu, that you can't get right now through, a lot of that.
Well, the flip side is true, though, particularly having a lot of select service hotels. The promise of bots for me is we've already got one front desk clerk in the evenings, right? Good minimum staff, right? One front desk clerk, and he's in charge of everything. Chief bottle washer, running towels if we don't have a robot, doing all this stuff. And I have this nightmare, and I've seen it at the Sheridan in St. Louis, where they turn on texting, probably not with your wonderful system, I don't know what it was, but where the front desk clerk now is answering the phone because there's no PBX operator anymore because we can't afford them. They're checking in guests in a 500-room hotel. Now they're answering 5 different windows of texting or whatever, however many windows of texting. If you don't put some kind of bot automation in, and maybe I agree, it's a hybrid solution, right? Where maybe the first 4 questions are botted and then only escalated where they need to be. That's really where I see it. I want the front desk clerk to interact with the person in front of them. I also don't want the guys, and I've traveled with Jake, okay? He will suck up a front desk clerk's time for and that's great if there's nobody else wanting to check in or have the phone answer or need to respond to a text or not. But, you know, I get it, and I want that customer service delivery. I yearn for it like Jake does, but also, you know, one guest monopolizing all that time when you're not staffed for it can be a problem. And if a bot can take some of that load off, I think it makes a lot of sense. It's certainly something that we're experimenting with. It's not there yet, but it's certainly something we're experimenting with.
Maybe you have to be completely honest with folks. I am a bot, right? I can answer some questions, but if you really want to talk to someone, you know, kind of set that expectation, you know.
Times 0 4 times for a real person.